And we're back. Welcome back to the Fordcast. After some months of Sundays out of the chair, I am back. My name is JG Lockhart, formerly known as Jim Rico. And this is the Fordcast. Glad you could be here. Glad you could tune in with us again. It has been a while since we've been here. As you know, there has been a lot of events happening in our lives, and we're going to talk about some of them. So just want to go ahead and first give all praises to the Father. Thank you for allowing us to be here another day. Thank you for allowing me to be here to bring this show to you. Again, this is the Fordcast. I am your host, JG Lockhart. In the studio with me today, I have a very, very special guest star. And we can go ahead and introduce her as the future New York Times bestseller. We have KC, the author, in the house. Yay!
I received that.
All
Thank you.
Now, what a lot of you don't know is that KC, the author, is also one of my campaign managers from my Charlotte City Council at Large campaign that we just concluded. So first of all, Casey, I just want to tell you in front of everybody, thank you for the wonderful work that you guys did. And let's just talk about that a little bit, because we have not been on since the whole election thing ended, and we had not really spoken about it in depth.
Sure.
So for those of you who do not know, we ran a campaign, a 53-day campaign. We filed on the last day, which was July the 18th. We filed our candidacy for City Council at Large, and the primaries were September the 9th. So in 53 days, which that's how many days we had to campaign, we were able to garner 5,699 votes, basically 5,700 votes. Now, of course, we did not have enough votes to win, all right, because of the top 4 vote getters that moved on to the general election, which will be this upcoming November. And but as I was telling KC, for the time that we had in it,
absolutely,
we did a phenomenal job. I mean, we were pulling in over 100 voters a day, and just think if we had another 53 days, you know, what we would have been able to accomplish, or even 159 days, 3 times that. I have no doubt that we would have gotten the numbers to be able to be in there. But, you know, God didn't say we were going to win. He just told us to run, right?
Amen.
He did. But KC was one of the lead campaign managers. Everyone who worked on the campaign was considered a campaign manager, but KC was the lead dog of the pack. I mean, she was getting me out of bed. She was chauffeuring me here. She was saying, come on here, come on there. I remember a couple of times I was like, look, you're going to have to stop bossing me around. You know, I didn't like that taking orders.
You
but
said I was not the boss of you.
Yeah, but you were. You were the boss of me, and I was listening. I was really listening, but we got it done. Zed, Katrina, Bonnie, Nick, Robin, Michelle, Frederica. There were just so many people that contributed to the campaign, not just their time, but their ideas, you know, and everybody was on one accord, you know, and a lot of people don't really believe me when I tell them this, that nobody was paid, you know.
We were paid. I was paid by seeing you shine. Like, that was payment enough to know that you had enough unction to say and listen. You know, sometimes we don't listen. Like, sometimes you'll hear something from God, and then you step back like, no. And many times you'll say, why me? And guess what?
Yeah, I think I might have been telling you that, but there have been so many times that I have not listened and not been obedient, that when this one hit me, I was like, I'm not even finna go through that. I hear you loud and clear. I didn't understand it. I did not understand it, nor was I going to question it. It was just like, okay, all right, I'll do it. Don't know why. I got some familiarity with the subject matter. You know what I'm saying? And then once I got into it and I found my footing in this whole transit tax issue, it was like, okay, I see why. I understood why. Because, believe it or not, there was so much ignorance surrounding the election, surrounding the transit tax, just surrounding generally everything that's at stake. And because I love my city so much, it's like I'm almost now saying thank you, God, for allowing me to get involved because, hey, I didn't realize how much we were being screwed or had been getting screwed, as far as charlatans and our whole transit challenges, how much we had been getting screwed and how they were trying to further screw us by asking for this penny tax increase in November. So it's like, yeah, I get it. But here we are at the end. And, of course, we didn't get the results that we wanted, but,
we got results.
We got results. We did. And there are a lot of people that are talking about why this is not good even more. Why this is not good more. Is that right? There are a lot more people talking about it more, about why this is not good. Is that a tongue twister?
It is.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we have awakened some folks. We have dropped some little knowledge eggs into wherever, and they've kind of grown, and people are beginning to realize that, hey, this transit thing, there's something to this. I heard that, what's her name? The Mecklenburg County Commissioner Rodriguez. I heard she was on a podcast, and she was really sound like she had been reading my website, about the things. She was like, the more that she learns, the more she realizes this is not for Charlotte. Then Braxton Winston, he was on Channel 9's Political Beat, and he was talking word for word about what I was saying. And I'm like, now where were all these people before I started bringing this up?
Well, sometimes somebody has to be the trailblazer, and I think it was you. And so when you said that we poured into you, you poured into us, because I had no idea about the transit tax until you brought it to my attention. And the more I unpacked it and the more I pulled back each layer of that onion, I was like, wow. So don't ever think that we worked for you. You worked for us so that we can make informed decisions at the ballot box. So we thank you for being obedient.
Well, for a first-time campaigner, for a first-time everything, not having a clue. I didn't have a roadmap. All I knew was that I was going to be obedient. And almost immediately, God was putting you, Bonnie, Frederica, Katrina, he was just dropping y'all into my life. Oh, and I can't forget about Rosa May. I can't forget about her. Rosa May was the first call. Rosa May said, we have to make sure you look good. And I'm like,
stylist.
Yeah, my stylist. I'm like, what are you talking about? Look good wherever you go. Okay. So I need for you to meet me. You already have an appointment. Look, I hadn't done anything but, yes, the very first official thing I did was meet Rosa May at the Taylor's. And
oh, wow. That's the first time I heard that story.
Yeah. That was the very, very first official duty that I did. And hadn't seen Rosa May since then.
Well, that's all right. Her job was done.
She did her job. She introduced me to the Taylor and Doc. That was his name. And God knows Doc was awesome. And Doc made me look good.
I must say so.
Doc made me look good. I got quite a few compliments on some of the attire, we'll just call it like that I was wearing. But anyway, we ran a great campaign. We did not get the results that we wanted. I think that this campaign being in an off election year, and because there's so, I'm trying not to use the word ignorant, okay, but there's a lack of knowledge about voting.
Yes.
Okay, can we just say that? There's a lack of knowledge about voting. Number one, there's an election every single year.
Absolutely.
There's an election. As a matter of fact, to be more specific, there are 2 elections every single year. So, you guys, if you're not voting twice a year, then you're not doing your duty. And let me tell you why there are 2 elections. It's because every year there's a primary. All right? There's a primary and then a general. The primary election is the first election of the year, usually held in the springtime. And the primary election is sort of like a qualifying election. It's the election where if you got 100,000 people running for 5 spots, then the primary is where we whittled the 100,000 people down to the top 10. And then you have the general election, which is in November, the second Tuesday after the second Monday in November, or is it the first Tuesday after first Monday? I have to figure that out for you. But the general election is when those 10 people that you pick from the primary run for the 5 spots. So just remember, every year, no matter what election it is, whether it's a municipal election, which those are your elections for city council, which I just ran for, okay? You got your state elections, which your state legislators, and then you have your presidential or your federal or national elections where you vote for your presidents, your state senators, your U.S. House of Representatives. And they all alternate each year. So this year, because it's a municipal election, you won't have your president's election. We just had that previous year. Next year in 2026, it will be your state elections where you'll be electing your state representatives, the people who go to, if you're in North Carolina, these are the people that are in Raleigh that are making all of these laws
that make no sense for Charlotte.
That makes no sense for Charlotte. Thank you for saying that. I was trying to be nice about it, but
politically correct.
Actually, no. I'm just trying to be nice because I don't even think politically correct is a word anymore. You know, we hear so much about the left and the right. I don't even think you can say what's politically correct. How about just right or wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, because so much is wrong with both sides.
Absolutely.
You know, both sides.
Totally.
But our General Assembly is a mess. You know, it's a mess. I mean, we're giving millions of dollars to our charter schools, and we're not giving money to our public schools, but we're saying that we're here for all North Carolinians. That doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
It doesn't make any sense. And it just seems like the poor people or the people who have the biggest voices aren't understanding this because they keep, or we keep, not me, okay, because I'm not electing these fools to go up there, but the majority either are not voting or they are voting for the wrong people to go to Raleigh, and they're thus making these laws that affect us.
Absolutely.
And we get it. Charlotte is a majority a Democratic city, and North Carolina is a majority Republican state. However, that doesn't mean that all of our laws have to be one-sided. It's supposed to be a joining of both sides, because just because you're a Republican, that doesn't mean you don't represent any Democrats, right. And vice versa. Just because you're a Democrat lawmaker doesn't mean you're not representing Republicans. And again, I'll go ahead and invoke this, what Obama said, our biggest problem is that we have to learn how to work together.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'd still, you know, and I'm going to get off this General Assembly because I hadn't even planned on talking about them, but I still do not understand what sense it makes to take money away from public schools and to fund the private schools.
Well, I think basically that's the agenda. If you look in Project 2025.
Conspiracy theory.
No, I'm just saying that's the agenda. But this has been since the beginning of time. I was a charter school administrator for 15 years in Chicago, and that was the agenda. And unfortunately, I was on the charter school side because they gave me a paycheck. But I did not realize the monies that we were taking away from the public schools. Not everybody can go to a charter schools. There are only so many slots. So we have to figure out how to make this equitable. Now, the flip side of that, charter schools don't get the per pupil capita that the public schools get. So you might get $12,000 per student at a public school, and the charter schools only get $9,000. But they're trying to even the playing field, and I believe that will happen. So we have to put our foot down. That we definitely need to look at this, because it's already inequitable, and there's going to be disparaging differences between education, because they're going to handpick their students, and then who's going to be left behind?
Right. That's the biggest thing, handpicking students.
There we go.
That's it.
Access to all is out of the question.
Right. Because when you can select who attends your school, then you pretty much control everything about that. You control the population, what you're going to teach, and that's the biggest thing. Charter schools, they don't have to abide by North Carolina curriculum as far as that. So again, North Carolina is what we rank 49th in education. And this is one of the reasons why, folks. So, you really have to understand that if we're not fighting for our public schools, then we're going to continue to be in this hole that we're in. When people are ignorant, people can be tricked and duped. Duped meaning fooled into doing things that are not in their best interest. If you don't know that it's not in your best interest, then you don't know. It's the old saying, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Or my people will perish for the lack of knowledge, right? So, hey, we gotta know more. We gotta study. We gotta unpack, just like you did with that transit tax.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like you did with the transit tax.
So back to the transit tax for a little bit. I know it's funny because you were with me when we attended. So one of the things about running for office is you do a number of appearances, okay? And you're trying to meet constituents, people who are going to vote. That's what a constituent is, a person who votes, a person who you would represent. And usually you meet these places at gatherings. One of the good places to meet them would be, of course, churches and whatnot. We attended a church, well-known church in Charlotte. And KC was with me on this particular day. Actually, KC was one of my personal drivers, okay? So everywhere I went, KC was driving me. Hats off to Tamara, hats off to Federica, because they were getting me where I needed to go while I was sitting working on my last minute what I was going to say. But we went to visit this one particular church, and after the service was over, I approached a current elected official. Okay, I'm not going to call his name out, but I approached a current elected official in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, and I went up to him and I said, hey, this is my first time running for office, and no one's came at me and asked me if I needed any help or any advice, anything, and you guys have been here, what's going on with that? I wanted to know, hey, why is nobody reaching out to the young brother, And this elected official looked at me and says, well, yeah, when you come out like you did, basically trying to say that we ignorant, yeah, ain't nobody going to help you. And I looked at him and I said, so are you saying that I hurt somebody's feelings? And he was like, yeah, that's what you did. And I'm sitting here like, now we in the sanctuary, we in church, so I can't curse, I can't cut up or nothing. All I did was I stuck out my hand to shake, and I said, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. And I walked away, and I found KC, and I was like, let me tell you what this something just said to me. So in a nutshell, basically, because of the information that I was sharing, that I had been sharing since I started campaigning, that I was ruffling feathers, basically. I was ruffling feathers. I was talking about things that people weren't talking about, and they had been listening, and apparently they felt some kind of way because these were things that they had not been telling the people. Now, I stand firmly on everything that I have talked about in the transit tax. You can still go to my website. It's still up, jglforclt.com. I stand on everything because it's all there in black and white. So I wasn't making up anything. And here's the kicker. I learned about all of these things in less than 2 weeks?
Less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks.
I mean, literally, I filed on July the 18th, and I got a phone call from Miko. And Miko gave me some of the best advice that anybody gave me. She said, don't you have a transportation background? Well, you need to go through this, and you need to know it inside and out. And so guess what? That's what I did.
Thank you, Miko.
Thank you, Miko.
Thank you.
I went in, and I started pulling in the first day that I was disseminating this information. I was like, what? I was like, I could not believe what I was figuring out. And more than that, I could not believe that nobody else had read it or was even talking about it.
Yes.
It was like, we have been going through this since 1999.
Yes.
We have been doing it since 1999. And what I'm talking about, and we might as well jump into it a little bit. So what a lot of people don't understand is in 1998, there was a half-cent tax referendum that was put on the ballot for voters to vote on. Just like this November, there's a 1 cent tax. Back in 1998, 27 years ago, there was a half-cent tax that was put on the ballot that was going to fund the Blue Line, fund the Gold Line, fund the Silver Line, and fund Charlotte Transit at the time. It was going to do all those things, okay, half penny, all right? What it did do, once we everybody voted for it, okay, because it was a Mecklenburg County, all Mecklenburg County residents voted for it. And so that was in 1998. So the following year, as a result, in January, we voted in November of 98. In January of 99, the new Metropolitan Transit Commission was created as a result. And what that did was this new authority or commission or whatever you want to call it took over the management and governance of Charlotte Transit. So since 1976, okay, that's when Charlotte had its own. That's when Charlotte's transit system was privatized in 1976. So from 1976 to 1999, Charlotte's transit system had been privatized. In 1999, it went to the management of this commission, which consisted of basically the mayors of Mecklenburg County. Yeah, right. Big joke, right? You basically took a transit system of a metropolitan city, which basically in 1999 we were mid-major, metropolitan city, and you put it in the hands of mayors. The mayor of Pineville, population 9,000. The mayor of Davidson, population 11,000. The mayor of Cornelius, population 2,000. I mean, the mayor of Huntersville, population 30,000. The mayor of Matthews, the mayor of Mint Hill. These are the mayors, and of course, the mayor of Charlotte, okay? And then also the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners. So you basically took a major transit system out of the hands of the professionals that were running it, and you put it in the hands of these mayors, none of whom I knew to be transportation professionals. And now, all of a sudden, they were planning transit for Charlotte and the surrounding areas. That is where this thing started going wrong. That right there. That year in 1999. And what they did was they started spending money, basically. They started spending this money that we were getting from this half-cent tax increase. Billions of dollars that was raised. Out of it, we got the Blue Line, okay? We got the Blue Line, but the Blue Line only cost $1.5 billion. We got we got a quarter of a silver line, okay? Or I don't even think, no, the silver line wasn't even started.
The gold line.
The gold line, that's right. We got a half of the gold line. Now, mind you, the gold line was originally supposed to go all the way up Beatty-Ford Road, and it was supposed to eliminate the need for the busiest bus route, which was the number 7. But the MTC, your mayors, came back in 2000, and they said, no.
That's not important.
It's not important. We think it's more important to have the blue line extended to UNCC. We got screwed. So the Charlotteans who were thinking that because of the money that we were spending, it was going to help ease congestion, provide transit solutions for the people that really needed the most. And if you were thinking that if you're going to plan a light rail up Beatty-Ford Road and that was the busiest transit route, then of course that's going to help. And they took it off the table. They voted, that was the third most important thing to do behind extending the light rail up to UNC Charlotte and the Silver Line. So that was how we originally got screwed. All right. No one knew about this, though. They weren't talking about it except the people on Beatty-Ford Road who kept saying, when is this blue line going to go out? We saw them clearing the pathway, like we saw them making the streets wider. Isn't this thing? No. They took it off the table. And that's what we've been dealing with ever since. So, look, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're going to dive into this a little bit more. This is JG Lockhart, and you're listening to the podcast called The Fordcast with JG Lockhart. We're rebranding this thing all the way live, and in the studio, we have our special guest today, KC, the author, and we're going to talk about her book a little bit, but we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back, so y'all stay tuned, okay? All right, we're back. All right. Woo! All right, we're back here at the Fordcast with your host, JG Lockhart. Jim Rico is dead. No, he really is. He never really was living. But we'll talk about Jim Rico in another episode. But right now, we're back here at the Fordcast. In the studio, we have KC, the author.
Hey.
If you guys wasn't listening, this is one of my campaign managers, the head guru who bossed me around for those 53 days and was telling me what to do. But we were talking a little bit about the transit tax before we went to break, but it was basically, we've been away. We hadn't dropped the episode in like 4 weeks, and a lot of that was due to actually almost 2 months, but a lot of that was due to our campaigning. But then once we did try to get in the studio, it was like something was happening every single week. And go ahead and pull this out. Just to let you guys know, I do not own the rights to any of the music that you hear in this. PE, that's my opening. But just to let you know, I do not own the rights to any of this music. But KC, so one of the biggest things that happened that kind of got this fire going was the young lady who was murdered on the light rail, Iryna Zarutska, the young woman who was stabbed by the man who already had mental illness going on. And as tragic as that was, let me tell you what that meant to me, okay? For me, and I actually saw the clip where the man was sitting behind her, and I was in shock. That this happened and it was recorded. Like when you hear about somebody being murdered or somebody being stabbed, you wonder, well, how did it happen? Where was they? Well, here you saw everything. Everybody was sitting there, it was at the end of the day. The dude was in the back, and, if you kind of looked at it, you could probably tell that he was struggling with something internally. You could tell that something was going on. And he just stood up and pulled out his knife and went to work. And as tragic as that was, the people around him, and this is where this is where I have a problem with. The people that were around him, they were in shock. Now, I've heard some of the comments about, the people stood around and did nothing. The people did this, people did that. This man stabbed her 3 times, all right? And if you're not watching that happen, if you don't have eyes on that and this happens, you don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. And as I'm sure some of those people did not know what happened. And once they did what most people do when they're not faced with situation. Unless you've been trained in war and trauma, then shock is the initial reaction. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, is that happening? The brain is trying to process those things that are happening and trying to get you to do what's next. And for me, initially, when I saw all of those men on the train and no one came to this woman's defense, first thing I thought was, well, if I was there, such and such. And then I had to think, well, if I was there, number one, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't have done nothing. If I was there in the chair in front of her and I didn't see it, all the thing I could do was turn around to see what was going on. True. Or if I was in the seat beside him and looking at my phone and I didn't see it, how would I know what was going on? Now, from my understanding, the young man got off the train and they arrested him immediately. So somebody told it that he was, the agitator. And so I get that. But initially, I was kind of upset with the men there. I was upset that no one came to this woman's aid. But once I started thinking about it more, processing it more, and I looked at the video again, nobody was watching him what he did. Right. When he stood up, nobody had any clue. You're on the train. He could have been getting up to get off and whatever. He didn't say anything. Right. He just immediately went to work. So for those people who are trying to pass judgment to say these people did nothing, yeah, I get it. I was thinking like you as well. Now, to that effect, I'm going to also talk about something else another time. I'm going to come back to that. But you and I were together, and we went, this is a day after long campaigning.
This is the only reason why we go to the all boys club. The only reason why we go to the all boys club.
And she knows what I'm talking about. This is one day after campaigning. We decided to go to Annabelle Clark's, or Another Bad Creation, the ABC store for you slow people, okay? We decided to go to the ABC store, and, I'm no longer a drinker like that, but I asked him, I said, what do you want? I'll go ahead and get it. And so I went in, and I realized I had forgotten my wallet, so I came back out to the car to get my wallet. Kim had stayed in the car. And as I was going back in, when I walked in, there was a young man that was gathering a box near the door, and there was one of the salespeople working that was near him. And I just assumed he was standing there watching him, and I just assumed he was assisting him. Now, mind you, the store had people going, it was maybe 10 to 15 people in the store, okay? 10, let's just say 10 to 12 people in the store, all men. As a matter of fact, they were all African-American men, all black men in this store, all right? Even the people working were black men, okay? So there was nothing but brothers in this store. And so as I walked in and saw what was happening, the guy took the box and the guy went out, and then I looked again, and things kind of looked in a little bit disarray. Like, it wasn't neat, it wasn't tidy, and the other guys were standing and watching, and they looked like, they were witnessing something. And so I got in line, and I asked what happened. And then security came out from the back, and then I realized what had happened. I had just walked in on a strong arm robbery. The guy who I came in and saw, he was stealing a case of liquor, and it happened to be Crown Royal. Yes, the guy was stealing a case of Crown Royal that was positioned at the end of the aisle, and the store personnel, he wasn't trying to stop him. He was just looking at him. I guess they've been told, don't try to stop anybody. Take care of yourself. But here's the thing, KC. All the brothers that were standing around, no one did anything. And so I'm standing there and I'm in line. I'm asking, I said, what did he just think? They was like, yeah. I said, and the first thing I said out loud, incredulously, I said, and we did nothing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I said that out loud. I said, and we did nothing? Like, all of these men out here, nobody came. And my thinking is, well, let me just tell you what, after I said that, this guy said, why? They ain't going to give us no free liquor.
Oh, wow. We're going to still have to pay for this Tito's.
Lord have mercy. Y'all, when I tell you, I was done. I was too through. And I'm just going to be honest with you. At that moment, I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed for a number of reasons. I felt ashamed to be a man, okay? I felt ashamed to be a black man, and I felt even more ashamed to be a human being, that I was a part of this race that would allow somebody to come in and just break the law in front of all these able-bodied men and get away with it. But see, here's the thing that I know and that I think about when I see people stealing is that the more people steal, the more that drives up the price of things.
True.
Okay? Now, if you don't know what I'm saying, then you go price things at the food line on, let's say, Beatty'sford Road, and then you go price things at the food line, let's say, on Park Road. All right? And if you can't tell any price differences, then you're not looking well. Because the more you steal from a location, the more they have to raise the prices in order to make a profit. So my thinking is, and, you know, I used to frequent this ABC store all the time when I did drink, but, you know, if you're not going to help do anything to try and control the loss, that's what it's called, loss, profit and loss. Anybody stealing is considered a loss. Then if that profit and loss is going against the store, then they're going to have to raise prices in other areas in order to turn a profit at the store, or else the store is going to have to close.
True.
Now, this is what a lot of people who stand on the sidelines aren't putting into play, that it's not my business. Absolutely, it is your business. It has nothing to do with me. Yes, it does. It has everything to do with you. If you're spending your money here and you see people stealing, then that is affecting you. So the best thing we can do is try and become more involved. Was I asking people that I think that, you know, somebody need to be Superman? No. But I guarantee you, if I would have figured that out, I would have tackled him. Now, I'm saying that because I'm playing it back in my mind. Now, the Iryna Zarutska thing, if I had to see it in order to think what I had done, what I would have done. But this guy right here, he was a little dude. I mean, I would have jumped on top of him and said, somebody help me, you know? Somebody help me with this dude, you know what I'm saying? Call the police, you know? And I wasn't going to be looking for any free liquor.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy that, you know, dog, dude, why you stealing from, you know, and all that. So I did feel bad.
But you see the parallel in your running for city council? Do you see the parallel? You saw something.
Right.
And you're doing something.
Right.
So it just shows the measure of the man that you are, number one. But the other parallel is look at the national landscape. The Republicans are seeing everything in plain sight, and they're not saying a word.
Now, we don't have any Republicans here to defend themselves. Okay, so I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Okay.
And I'm not too happy with, you know, the Democrats as well. You know, we can talk about politics, but I'll just be honest with you. You know, there are bad people in America.
Absolutely.
And if this time that we're living in right now does not show that bad people are in high places and doing bad things, I don't know what else can. That whole idea of people are going to do the right thing because they're in high office, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That is out the window. I have said it on this show one time or two times or three times before. You can no longer depend on people to do the right thing anymore. You have to make people do the right thing, okay? Because that time is come and gone. That whole fantasy land of fantasy world of, people are going to always do the right thing. No, that's not happening, because what has happened over the last few years, I mean, you could probably talk about ever since Obama was elected, but what we have seen is an increase of this violent rhetoric, this name calling, this stuff that has no place literally in politics. I mean, you think about what's happening with this current administration going after these enemies. I think recently James Comey, the former FBI director, has, been indicted by the Justice Department. This man, I'm talking about Donald Trump, is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to come after his enemies.
And that's how they're making it right. They're justifying it because he said he was going to do it. So he's doing what he promised.
Yeah, but that still doesn't make it right. I mean,
it absolutely doesn't make it right.
If that young man who killed Iryna Zarutska would have announced, "I'm gonna kill this white girl," and then went to do it, that still wouldn't have made it right.
Absolutely not. He's
still wrong for doing it.
True.
Just because you announce something, and that's what has taken hold of us. But I appreciate that, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast. Another reason why I understood why God would tell me to run. I was like, okay, because you just that person. My filter, I have a filter, but sometimes the filter just has to come off because I don't know any way to call it. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Absolutely.
People say I always see things in black and white. I do, because there's a reason for everything. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for everything, and if those reasons aren't clear to everyone, then there must be another reason. And we don't want to think the worst reason. We don't want to think this is happening because this person is being a racist. We don't want to think this is happening because this person is being prejudiced or biased. We don't want to think that. We want to give all the leeway. Oh, it could possibly be this. No, that's bullshit. There are people that are being racist. There are people that are being biased. There are people that are being bigots. Okay? And it's showing. And they're getting bolder and bolder every day.
Every day.
They're getting bolder and bolder. And if we continue to stand by and act weak, and that's what I consider not voting, is acting weak. Oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Oh, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. Well, yeah, when you don't vote.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is one of my that's one of my pain points.
People have gotten so disillusioned with voting that they think that the best way for me to not deal with it is by not voting. That is the most asinine thought process ever. So I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to take myself out of it. That sounds like some shit that my mom was saying when my sister was screwing up, and instead of her knocking her head through the damn wall, she's like, oh, what can I do?
She's going to get you for that one.
Yeah, she might. But yeah, she might. But there are a lot of parents, and I'm just not, sorry, Mom, hate to do you like that, but there are a lot of parents who have kids in their households, and they say, what can I do? They're not listening to me. What can I do? Well, let me tell you, you can stop buying food. Okay, you can cut the power off. You can do. There are a number of things that you can do. Absolutely. You can not cook. You can not buy food. You can stop providing the comforts. You can not pay the cell phone bill. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that you can do as a parent, but parents, especially African American parents, and I don't know whether it's because we feel so guilty. Maybe it's that we feel guilty about what we couldn't do. Mm-hmm. That we wanted to give our kids the best, but sometimes the best isn't the best for them.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the best thing is the truth. Morals, values, right, wrong, grounding, what's the word? Repercussions. All right? Yeah, so, and consequences, right? Delayed gratification. These are things that we're not teaching, but this whole voting thing, to not vote because you don't think your vote, no, that is the wrong way.
Absolutely the wrong way. You could look at the one race here in Charlotte where the person won by
31
31 votes.
31 votes. And we're talking about J.D.
Rodriguez.
Right? Was it right? No. Dominguez over Melanie Molina. Sorry about that, J.D. We're going to have you on the show soon. And you could. That was KC who said that, not me. But, yeah, you're absolutely right, though, KC. He won by 31 votes.
31.
And just imagine if any of those 31 people, 32 people said, you know what, my vote's not going to count. All it took was 32 people, and JD would not have won.
Absolutely.
And then the one person for Melanie Molina, or the two people that took her over the top, those would have been the two people whose votes counted. You know, I understand that if you're disillusioned about voting, I get that. But this is what the people who don't want you to vote, this is how they want you to feel. They want you to feel like your vote doesn't count. They want you to think that not showing up is the best thing. They want you to feel that. And if you feel that, then that gives them the power. Mm-hmm. Because their people are going to show up. Their people are going to show up. And I say I mean their own people. Mm-hmm. Their own people are going to show up. Just like this transit tax. You can best believe that the people in Cornelius, Davidson, and Huntersville, they're going to show up in force. All, about 32,000 of them? Mm-hmm. The whole damn city is going to come out and vote for this. Why? Because they have the opportunity to vote for a commuter train to come all the way up there. Forget Charlotte and what we need down here. But if we can vote on this train that's going to come all the way up here, then we're going to vote for it. Yep. And if Charlotteans aren't knowledgeable enough to understand that this transit tax increase is not going to directly benefit them right now, right in the immediate interim, and just go in there and just say, yeah, more roads, more buses, yeah, we're going to vote for that. No. That is why you have to read what's in between the lines. That is why our elected officials should be telling us what's going on. That is why the individual that was at the church told me that I was making them look ignorant, because they weren't telling you guys what I was telling you. Mm-hmm. So everything has a reason. Now, this is the big world. The world is big, but it ain't that big.
Not at all.
It is not that big. And once you start understanding how things work, then the world slows down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But if you're not trying to pay attention or slow it down to where you can try and understand, at least just try. At least just try and understand. Like this transit thing, we're talking about $30 billion. $25 billion over the next 30 years. $25 billion is a lot of money. A lot of money. Yeah, the budget for Charlotte, the city of Charlotte, is like $2.64 billion just for the fiscal year 2026. You know, the budget for Mecklenburg County is $2.5 billion. We're talking about $25 billion that we're going to commit to this transit, and we're not even going to benefit from it. And here's the thing that no one's talking about it. We're going to give away our system.
Everything.
We're going to give away the system to this same entity that ran it in the ground from 1999. Because, see, from 1999, these inexperienced mayors, what they thought was, the people in northern Mecklenburg and southern Mecklenburg, they want the bus route to bring them into Charlotte. So let's start sending buses up there and see who catches them. Well, guess what? Buses cost gas, okay, maintenance, and you got to pay the drivers. And if you don't have enough people riding the bus, then guess what you're doing? You're throwing money out the window. And that's what we did. We threw money out the window because the MTC wanted to appease these other people. Bump the fact that we had already put in express lanes that they weren't using, okay, because they were too expensive. They wanted the bus to come up there and bring them into Charlotte. Well, that didn't work, so now they want a commuter train. Guys, if you're not understanding that money talks and BS walks, think about who lives in Cornelius, Huntersville, and Davidson. This is why these people would get a commuter train before Beatty's-Ford Road would have the light rail extended. That's it. But the crazy part is Charlotteans are footing the bill. That's what y'all don't understand. Charlotte pays 85% of Mecklenburg County's taxes. 85%. That means if $100 million is paid to Mecklenburg County, Charlotte is paying $85 million of those $100 million. All these other little cities combined are making up the other $15 million. So when we talk about a transit system that's going to benefit Charlotte Metro, wouldn't you think Charlotte would be the focal point for the transit?
You would think.
You would think Charlotte would be the first in line to say, okay, let's fix Charlotte, and then we can move out here to fix Cornelius, Davis, and Huntersville. But nope, that's not what's going to happen if this transit tax passes.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is they're going to commence working on this red line, which is going to go from the center of Charlotte all the way up into Mooresville. It's going to serve less than 10% of Charlotte's population, which is not even in Charlotte, to bring them here. Now, Charlotteans, whether you're old Charlotte, new Charlotte, or original Charlotte, okay, you have to come out and vote no against this. I don't care if you don't vote for anything else. You have to come out and vote no against this, because this is going to tie up taxpayers' dollars in a way that it should not have. Now, we're in Mecklenburg County, so we have to pay whatever taxes we owe to Mecklenburg County, but we have enough people in Charlotte that we can vote against this.
Yeah.
But the only way we're going to win is if every eligible voter votes against this. We have to have more votes to say no than more votes that say yes. There are some actual people in Charlotte who think that this is going to benefit them. And only the people who live on this, you know what? I can't even think who is going to benefit, because this is a commuter rail. This isn't a light rail.
No.
This is going to be a train.
Yes.
This is going to be a train. This is not like the Blue Line where it's going to stop every other block or down the street. This is going to be a commuter line where it's going to stop in the city and keep chugging on down the line. This is not for Charlotte. This is not for Charlotte. This is not for Charlotte. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it.
But I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
What about those that are saying, what are we going to do? That we need transit. We need to address the
let's
transit
address that.
issue,
Let's
JG.
address that.
We need to.
You're right about that. So back in 1998, when the half-cent tax went on the referendum, that was the same thing. What are we going to do? We need this. There was a plan back in 1997 that was provided to the city of Charlotte, and this plan called for a transit solution which would build a light rail around the center of Charlotte, kind of mimicking 277, and then they were going to build an outer loop around, basically mimicking 485, and then there were going to be 8 legs that connected the outers to the inner. This is what we should have done.
What happened to that plan, JG?
Exactly. What happened to that plan?
What happened?
We voted against it.
Who is we?
Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg County voted against it.
That is exactly. See, this is the first time I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
See, you gatekeeping. You never told me that before.
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't ever get a chance to. But this was the plan back in 1997. Now, had we started on this back then, we would be nearing completion of this right about now. I mean, but that's what people don't understand, that these things take time. And for those people saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, let me go ahead and call bullshit, okay?
Please.
Because in 1997, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we didn't take it. And so now here we are in 2025, and now, 28 years later, now this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Wow.
No, what has to happen is we have to pull out of this transit governance interlocal agreement, which is the agreement that we're in with the other 6 cities that make up Mecklenburg County.
Throw away the baby and the bath.
We have to throw this out. We have to tear it up, and we have to come up with the original plan. It's easy. You build for Charlotte. The only way we're going to alleviate congestion in Charlotte is we have to convince people to stop driving their cars. And the only way we convince people to stop driving their cars is to build a transit system that makes people not want to drive. Oh, the bus will take me here. Oh, the light rail will take me here. No, I don't need my car. Absolutely. I can ride my bike? Absolutely. But that has to be all of Charlotte.
Okay.
It can't just be one section of Charlotte because we need to decongest all of Charlotte.
Absolutely.
And then once we decongest all of Charlotte, then the people coming in, it won't seem like so much. And we can start working on these expressways or these toll lines or, God forbid, commuter rails. We can do that lastly.
Yeah.
We can always do that. But
I never heard that. I never heard that before, and that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was there. It was there years ago. This plan was there, but for whatever reason, we scrapped it. But the biggest thing is right now, we don't have experienced people planning for Charlotte. We don't have transportation professionals planning for Charlotte's transit funeral. Did I say funeral?
You said funeral.
Yeah, look, that's what it is. Because if we vote yes on this tax, that's the death of Charlotte Transit. The MTC in its current form, I don't know if you've attended these meetings. These people don't have a clue. The mayor of Pineville himself said at this last MTC meeting, well, I don't have any experience in transit. This is my first time up here. Well, what are you doing here, dude?
My background is in criminal justice.
Yeah, what are you doing here? What?
Help us fix the crime problem. Let you be on the crime committee, because that's what you do.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. In my recent experiences and finding out the things that I'm finding out about government, we got too many people that don't have a clue in the wrong positions, and they are costing us money.
Yeah.
They are costing us money because we're thinking because they look the part. And we're not validating and checking, they're spending our money. And here it is, they're trying to get us to spend $20 billion for the next 30 years into a plan that the first 50% of the red line has to be fixed. How is this going to fix Charlotte? And then you have these leaders who are elected telling us, yeah, we need transit solutions. But this is not a solution. This is not a solution. This is not a solution. Okay. Casey, you started this.
I'm sorry.
You started
but we
this.
we have to inform. Those who know don't tell. Those who tell don't know. So we have to tell them. And that's why local elections are important.
Well, and the saying goes, once you know better, you do better.
Absolutely.
And if you don't do better, shame on you. So that's why we're doing this. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about KC's new book that's coming out. Has it been released yet?
Yes.
It has been released. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're going to spend a little bit more time with Casey and talk about her new book. You're listening to The Forecast with JG Lockhart. Y'all stay right there. All right, we're back here at the Forecast. Just want to make sure that you know, and I'm letting you know, that I do not own the rights to this music. Yellow Breezy, that's on me. Just want to make sure that's clear. All right, we're back here with KC, the author, with this special coming back after a month of Sundays being out due to the election. But real quick, though, I want to talk about something else that happened big before we talk about your book, KC. And this was national news that has, changed a lot of things. I'm talking about the murder of Charlie Kirk. So this young man was... let me just say, his murder and Iryna's murder were the same to me. I felt bad. I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was. I'll just be honest with you. I consider myself kind of well-versed on a lot of things. But this guy, I might have heard his name before, but when I was like, who the heck is Charlie Kirk? And then once I started listening to some things, like, oh, okay, well, I probably would not have been listening to a lot of Charlie Kirk. I believe as the days that have gone on since his death, that he's been getting misrepresented a lot. I believe that There are some things that he has said that are considered very inflammatory to certain communities, especially the African American community, especially African American women, right? And there's a lot of pushback, especially on gun advocates. I think one of the biggest things I heard a lot of people talking about was, well, if you pray for this, if you pray for violence, you'll wind up being a part of it. And I believe one of the quotes that they were using was that he was talking about the shootings or the killings of the kids in one of the schools, and he said that in order to protect the rights for gun advocates, you have to have these every now and then. Now, I don't know if I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, are we saying that just in order for me to walk around with my Glock, that, you know, every now and then we got to have somebody walking up in a Charleston church murdering innocent people, or somebody walking up with an AK into a elementary school and killing 26 kids, or somebody going into a movie theater killing 41 people, or somebody setting up shop outside of a Las Vegas concert? And no, I can't see that trade-off. I can't see that trade-off. So, but Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, he died in a very violent way.
Very.
And now in the aftermath, you've got the president wanting to give him the Medal of Freedom posthumously. Okay.
He can't spell it. I'm sorry.
I think they want to name a holiday after him. I believe that his organization, the Turning Point, got like millions of dollars that they raised in the aftermath, and they had tens of thousands of applications for people wanting to join this thing and all this. And
don't forget that they're going to be mandated. The schools are going to be mandated of having a charter of Turning Point at their schools. Mandated. It's going to be mandated.
By who? The federal government?
Yes.
I did not hear this. Are you sure?
Yes, I am sure.
Okay.
You can check me on that.
All right. I'm going to have to, yeah. Because that makes absolutely no sense.
Yes, he's a martyr in their eyes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I've heard, that this man was a martyr. Yeah. So, again, you know, murder is murder, and anybody being taken away from their family before, you know, their time is a tragic thing happening. And for this young man to be taken away the way he was, and, you know, for it to happen on TV. I actually saw the shot. Yeah. You know, and I was like, wow, they're still showing that stuff? Like, I thought that, you know, the FCC wouldn't allow it, but yeah, they showed it. And you can't find it anywhere else now, you know, but initially, you know, well, I guess you can find it on the dark web if you want, something like that. But, you know, I'm afraid to go on the dark web. I'm afraid somebody might get into my computer, the ones that's not already in there.
Oh, right.
But anyway, Charlie Kirk, and, oh, yeah, I can't not mention Jimmy Kimmel without mentioning Charlie Kirk.
Right. You can't.
I mean, and so Jimmy Kimmel, who I am not even a fan of.
What?
I mean, I'm a Johnny Carson kind of guy. You know, I remember David Letterman. I even remember Arsenio Hall. I mean, these guys were funny. They were funny.
Kimmel is funny.
Okay, let's stop right there. No.
Is funny.
Okay, if you say so. But I will say that I have never watched Jimmy Kimmel live until after they put him back on. Now, I have caught almost all of his shows since they put him back on. But my point is, this is not about whether Jimmy Kimmel is funny or not. My point is that this man made a comment. And it's his job to make comments. Absolutely. It's his job to be satirical.
Yes.
That's what he does. Satire all day. And for those of you who are wondering what the word satire means, like dry humor, being a smart ass. That's what satirical is, being a smart ass. That's what this guy gets paid for. And because you didn't like what he said, you want to use the whole power of government. I thought that there was too much government by what a lot of people were saying. I thought there was too much government. I'm talking about the Republicans. There was too much big government and everything. The government telling you this, the government telling you that. Well, it seems like since January, the government has been doing a lot of telling. And these are the same people who said we're going to take government out of the daily lives. But it seems like all these executive orders, this is government. And to follow that up, I just want to let everybody know the government is the people. And what I mean by that, each one of us makes up this government. And if you aren't participating in the voting process, and there are other people who are participating in the voting process, then their form of government wins. Doofus. I'm sorry. That was mean. I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. If you didn't vote, forgive me. I didn't mean that. I did not mean that.
Do better. If you didn't vote.
That's what I meant.
You didn't mean doofus. You meant do better.
That is exactly what I meant.
Do better.
Do better. Because the people, everybody's a part of the government. Even the homeless people, they're a part of this government. But it's the people who are actually voting who gets to dictate what type of government we're going to have. So if you aren't voting for your type of government, then if you aren't voting for your type of government and other people are voting for their type of government and more people vote for their type of government, then their type of government wins and we all have to live up under it as we all are doing now. We're being forced to live up under this government. But it is still our government. Just like you people I hear some people saying, that's not my president. Yes, he is. You didn't vote for him? No, you didn't, but that's your president. That is your president. And I get it. You know, I didn't vote for him and all that. I get it. But that is your president. So let's stop saying that. And you know what? Most of the people that didn't vote are the ones that's saying that. I didn't vote for him. Well, did you vote?
Did you vote? Were you the 10 million?
Yes.
Were you a part of the 92%? I have to, every time I hear one of my colleagues, friends, peers, were you a part of the 92? Because if you weren't, shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
Right. Well, we want people to have a voice, but we need them to understand that voting is the biggest form.
That's your voice.
That's your voice. The voting is. Matter of fact, when you don't vote, that speaks even louder. And we got to reimagine what that looks like. We have got to start raising our kids up from not only just being able to walk and talk, but hey, as soon as you turn 18, you got to start voting. It's part of life. We're a young country. We're a young country. We're only, less than 400 years old, something like that. I think next year is going to be our
450. Was it 450?
Let me see, 1776. So next year is going to be 250 years, or is it 350 years? 250 years next year, right?
2, 7, and 3.
Okay, we're having math challenges over here.
That's 450. 17 and 3 would make us to the 2000, and we're almost at 30. So that's 30 and 20. So that's 400.
400.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least.
So my point is that we're still a young country, and all of these other countries have been around for hundreds of thousands. Okay, 249.
Next year would be 250.
Next year would be 250. Yeah, I knew I had that right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're less than 250 years old, so we're still a baby in the water. We're still learning how to do these things. These other countries are looking at us saying, look at America. Yeah, we've seen that happen. But what they've also seen happen is throughout their countries where the people don't pay attention to what the leaders are doing, and they allow the people with access and resources to start dictating how the country's going to run. And then once the common folk get pissed off enough, then they want to do this, and then we have these internal wars. And y'all, we don't need that. We don't need that at this stage in our lives. That with modern technology, all we have to do is vote. All we have to do is vote. There are a lot of good people out there who want to protect your vote, okay? If there's somebody out there cheating, then somebody's going to tell it. I promise you. Somebody's going to tell it. Trust that, because they know that other people are listening. But if we act like that we don't care, then those other people aren't going to be putting their names out there. They aren't going to put their neck on the line for people that don't care. So we got to start acting like we care. We got to start caring. Like if you're in the ABC store and you see somebody about to steal a case of Crown Royal, I need you to jump on that fella, okay? I really do. That pissed me off, man. I'm serious. Okay. All right. Enough about murderers and all that bad stuff. Casey, the author.
Yes, sir.
You have a new book that is out.
I do, and I am so excited.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this book, the reason why I'm truly excited about this, I'll give you a little history. My granddaughter's name is Honor.
Okay.
And when she was born, I knew I had to do something with that name. Like, there's so much in a name. And so I started out with my first children's book that I released on her birthday, which is 4/16. And that one was called Lessons from the Heart, A Journey with Honor. And that was a faith-based book that taught children 10 valuable lessons using biblical principles and bringing them to everyday occurrences. Like, I used to be afraid and I wasn't going to be on the monkey bars, but my mom told me that God is going to protect me and to be brave, and compared the story with David and Goliath. So it brought biblical principles to everyday life through the eyes of Honor. Honor is a 4-year-old little girl in that book. So the second one came to me, and I realized that with all of the inflation, our spending has to change. And so what I decided to do, we have to teach our kids early, because all of us have had credit problems and money problems. And so we have to start early. So this book is called Honor's Pocket Full of Wisdom. And the wisdom is money management and financial literacy for children. So in this book, Honor's mother teaches her little lessons like you need to save, you need to give, you need to put money in church. So she teaches her these lessons through a little comical, so it really brought home to me some of the lessons that my mom taught me that I did not take to heart. And now that I'm speaking through my granddaughter's voice, I'm like, oh, I need to save more, so I don't want to call this a children's book. I want to call this a family book, because I believe that this book will bless families and more than just children.
Now, in this day and age when people are reading less books and reading more of what's on their phone and what's on their tablets, how do you get that message out to folks? I'm assuming that you can buy it on Kindle books and digitally and all that, right?
Yes. So I released my first book on Kindle.
Okay.
And the sales weren't that great. Okay. So I did not take the man hours, because I am a self-published author. So I do everything. I write, I organize, I actually format. Okay. I do everything from A to Z. I didn't put that man hours into the Kindle version, but if someone reaches out to me tomorrow and says, do you have it on Kindle? It'll be on Kindle by the end of the week. Gotcha. So yeah. And to your point about people not reading, we have to get back to basics. These babies absolutely are so far behind. They were already behind, and then COVID happened, and we're really behind. I'm a former educator, 15 years in the game before I moved here to Charlotte, and now I'm in banking. But we have to get back to basics. We have to get back to our children having that tactile environment where they pick up a book and read and turn pages. And so this is what I'm trying to encourage my granddaughter. So I hope that will speak volumes to the community and the world.
I had an opportunity to read the book. Thank you for bringing me a copy, and very likable, very readable, and I like the book. I like the lessons that you give, and those are lessons: saving, sharing, and giving. I love that part, and I think if we could teach our kids that from the beginning, and make them instill that into people, then I think we all would be better off, because we seem to have gotten a lot selfish. There's so much selfishness, like in what I have or what I want or what you have or what. And at the end of the day, I was just thinking, I always tell people, in your neighborhood, look at your neighbors. They might have something that you don't have, but then you have something that they don't have, but you're in the same neighborhood. Like, I can understand if it was somebody in a completely different neighborhood, but we're all in the same boat here.
Absolutely.
So we shouldn't be looking at our neighbor and giving the screw face because they got a new car or they got a new bush, or they got a new flag, a new hose pipe, a new grill, a new lawnmower. Like what? Are you serious?
Yeah.
So, well, I want to wish you well wishes on your book sales. I know it's going to be a New York Times bestseller. I love the colors. Did you do the illustrations and everything?
Yes. So my last book, I hired an illustrator.
Okay.
And all of the illustrations I sent to my son, and my son was like, Mom, he went to Midjourney and did these. Please don't pay this man. So I have, I don't know if you're familiar with Van Jones on CNN.
Yeah.
So Van Jones said something about a year and a half ago about there's certain things that you need to learn right now. And that's Midjourney, ChatGPT, and there were 3 or 4 others. He said, in order to be successful. And my son, he's just that kind of mind. He's like, Mom, go to Midjourney, tell Midjourney exactly your story, and they will pretty much give you what you want. So I uploaded a picture of my granddaughter, Honor, and it gave me an amazing depiction of her with great, bold colors, and it was just amazing how they turned my granddaughter into an actual BIPOC. So now I am just excited about that. And so I don't use AI for my writing because writing is my therapy. But for the pictures and graphics and things of that nature, you pretty much just tell it. Like, my imagination is so big. And I just say, and I want her to have 2 big furry, like, ponytails in her head, and I don't want her to be perfect because no one's I told that, and it spit out an image, and we went from there. And same with her mom in this book, because I introduced new characters, and I even introduced myself as Mimi, as my granddaughter Honor's grandmother. So
you're Nini?
Mimi. I am Mimi. Okay. So as we go forward, and also this book, I introduced my great niece. Her name is True. So I want this to be very relatable, and I want this to hit home, and I want to leave. My mother's biggest wish for us was to leave a legacy, and way after I'm gone, this book will still be on shelves. It might have dust, but it will still be on shelves, and my granddaughter will be able to pick it up and say, my grandmother thought about me when
she'll be able to show this book to her children and say, this is what my grandmother left for me.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, Casey.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's awesome. All right. That said.
Yes.
We have come to the end. Casey, I really want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
On this comeback show. This is the rebranding. We used to be called, we used to be known as the Forecast with Jim Rico. We've offed him. Now, this is the Forecast with JG Lockhart. And just to let you guys know what to expect coming up, we're going to dive into everything that we can find out about what's happening around the city of Charlotte, what's happening on the state level, North Carolina, and the national level. And we're going to bring it to you, and we're going to break it down. We're going to give you the honest, unfiltered truth. We want to try and bring you all sides of everything, but if we can't, we're going to definitely report as much as we have. We want you to be able to make informed decisions. We want you to be better citizens. And if you're an informed citizen, then you should be able to make better decisions. Remember, When you know better, you do better. And if you don't, shame on you. So this is JG Lockhart. I'm going to leave you with this. Today is almost gone. Tomorrow, if you get it, it is a gift. Use that gift tomorrow to do something that's going to benefit you for the next gift of the next day if you receive it. Because if you practice who you want to be today and you get the gift of waking up tomorrow, you just might be that person. So practice who you want to be every day, and we're going to all get there. This is JG Lockhart. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, KC.
Thank you.
Oh, one before I go, make sure you know I don't own the rights to any of this music.
Little housekeeping.
Little housekeeping duties. Yeah. We'll check y'all later.